Hello and welcome to another entry in Kalkine Media's Invest Nest webinar series. Now, this webinar is called Insights from 3 ASX mining companies amid commodity price swings. My name is Rachel Jones. I'm anchor and reporter with Kalkine TV. I'll be your moderator for today. Now, before going ahead with the session, it's important you're aware that this webinar is for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or a recommendation to engage in any investment activity under discussion. We're neither licensed nor qualified to provide investment advice through this platform. Now, the key idea of InvestNest webinar is to present our audience with a panel of experts who will share the potential of their businesses and their growth strategies along with their company's value and vision. We uncover the unheard stories from business leaders on how they work towards success. This event aims at sharing heaps of insightful business information and guidance on emerging themes and breakthrough trends in the Australian markets. The business presentation will be for around 15 minutes by each speaker and followed by a Q&A round. The webinar attendees can post their questions in the Q&A chat box during the webinar. Now, unfortunately, due to time constraints, we're unable to take your questions live, but they can be sent to us at info@kalkinemedia.com. This webinar will delve into the exciting prospects that lie ahead for gold and copper mining companies. Now, first off, we have CGN Resources. Their ticker code is CGR. They're a mineral exploration company focused on the discovery of gold, copper, nickel, and specialty metals. The company is making steady progress in advancing and promises new targets across its key projects. Now, that's the Webb project in the West Arunta origin of Western Australia, the Christmaswell project, and the Panhandle project near Leonora. Secondly, there's the Far East Gold Company. Their ticker code is FEG. They're an ASX-listed copper and gold exploration company with a portfolio of 6 advanced projects across Australia and Indonesia. The company is currently undertaking an extensive drilling program at its Idenburg Gold project in Papua, Indonesia, and it's aimed at expanding its resource base and unlocking further exploration potential. Next up is Viking Mines. Their ticker code is VKA. A diversified developer and explorer focused on precious and critical metals. The company is actively advancing its first hit gold project and Canegrass battery minerals project in WA. So I'm happy to introduce our speakers for the day. We have Stan Holy, Managing Director of CGN Resources, Mr. Shane Moneris, CEO and Director of Far East Gold, and Mr. Julian Woodcock, Managing Director of Viking Mines. We're going to speak to Mr. Julian Woodcock. Now, he's the Managing Director of Viking Mines. Hi, Julian, if you're there. Yep. His career spans 2 decades in the exploration and production of various commodities across multiple countries. His experience includes roles in international open pit and underground production geology, as well as a decade as exploration manager in the WA goldfields, where he led large exploration teams and managed multi-million-dollar budgets, driving projects from discovery through to development. Thanks, Julian. If you would like to share your screen now and share your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Rachel. Can you see my screen there?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. All right, that's great to see. Well, thank you very much to Kalkine Media for affording us the time for this this quick 15-20 minute presentation. I look forward to being able to take any people that we have online through what the story is with Viking. The usual disclaimer, we've released this on the ASX as per our disclosure requirements, so you'll be able to have a look at that at your leisure. Just a quick company overview. Viking Mines has been around for a while. The code is VKA, the ticket code, and that stems from Viking Ashanti. We did used to have assets in Ghana a number of years ago, but we no longer operate in that jurisdiction. We're now certainly WA focused. The map in the bottom right there shows our main projects. We have the Riverina East Gold Project, which is the one I'll discuss at length today, as well as the Canegrass Battery Minerals Project, which is a vanadium project, which has great opportunity and value. Just at this stage, unfortunately, the vanadium price is not really where we would like it to be, but we see potential for that to come forward in the future, and there's certainly an additional opportunity for investors. The share price at the side there, 0.7 of a cent, actually had a bit of a run today. We're at 0.9. That's increased our market cap up to about 11 or 12 million, 1.3 billion shares on issue. We're very tightly held top 20, over 50%, and directors have skin in the game with in excess of 12%. An experienced board with a diversity of skills. Dr. Julian Stevens recently joined. He's a geologist like myself, so we have the opportunity to engage and beat around geological ideas. Charles, our chairman, comes from a financial background and broking, and Bevan accounting as well as a broking background. First hit is the mine that is within the Riverina project, and again I'll cover length in the next slide. We've got a large land package, a couple hours north of Kalkine, very prolific terrain. Historical mine produced over 30,000 ounces at nearly 8 grams a tonne, and we have a remaining resource of 19,000 ounces at around 7 grams a tonne. And we're near some large operators. So we've got the Ora Banda Mining's Riverina operation. Ora Banda Mining is close to a $2 billion market cap, potentially more, company, and their mill is just 40 km south. So I'll just move forwards and start talking about the Riverina East Gold Project. This map sets the scene. There's huge amounts of gold endowment on this map. Kalgoorlie Boulder, the Golden Mile, owned by Northern Star, is the jewel in the crown on this map. But what I want to draw listeners to attention to is the Zuleika Shear Zone, which runs off the bottom of the page from St Ives Ground down in the south. St Ives is owned by Goldfields, through the Kundana Camp, which is owned by Evolution Mining, all the way up to the north onto our tenure. I spent a number of years as exploration manager working down in the Kundana area. In that district, you have these narrow vein, high grade deposits. A standout is the Raleigh deposit. This deposit was only 50 centimetre wide vein, but averaging 50 grams a tonne, 600 metres of strike length, 600 metres of vertical extent, produced in excess of 1 million ounces. There's a number of these styles of deposits, and the reason I'm using this as an example is that's what we're exploring for up in our terrain. And the historic first hit gold mine within our tenure had the same style characteristics. Our tenure is a rather large 480 square kilometre land package shown in the top left corner of this map. And as I mentioned previously, it joins Ora Banda Mining, where they have their mill at Davyhurst. There's two very large and local camps, which we describe with a large endowment. The Riverina camp immediately abutting us, over 1.3 million ounces in historical production and resources. And just 40 km south of the areas we're exploring, the central Davyhurst camp, which is well in excess of 1.2 million ounces historical production and remaining resources. And that's in the same stratigraphy that we're exploring. That's a really key thing to remember here. We've undertaken some early stage drilling, and I'll explain in further size how early greenfield style exploration we're undertaking. We've got a patch of ground that's seen little exploration. And we had some very early successes, 27 meters at 0.4 grams with assays up to 33 grams in a wide space drill environment where there's been no prior testing. We've just completed a 6,000 meter second phase drilling program, and assays are pending, and we expect that news flow to come through over the next month. So just to set the analogue of what we're exploring for the first hit mine, this was operated in the early 2000s, closed when gold price was low at $325 an ounce. And as was just recently noted, the gold price is close to 10 times that at the moment. The map here, also the long section here, shows the underground workings that were established. The salmon pink color here on the right, and in between the bright pinks and yellows and greens that we have here are the stopes. That was what was previously mined out when the mine was in operation. But due to the low gold price, there was material at the time that was deemed uneconomic and was left behind. And this is what we have estimated. So the bright coloured images, blocks on this image is the remaining resource, which is nearly 84,000 tonnes for 19,000 ounces. At the current gold price, that's close to or in excess of $100 million Australian worth of value of gold in the ground. This is on a granted mining lease. We've got the infrastructure you see in place, some high grades, 4.9 meters as a standard at 65 grams, but 3 meters at 77, 4 meters at 26. So we see a huge opportunity potentially to extract future value from this. And to determine that, we've got underground mining studies in progress, which we'll look to complete and subsequent to the outcome report the outcomes to market. Just to illustrate the style of vein, and I've talked about the Zuleika shear having the style of veins. Here's a 40 centimeter wide piece of core, quartz vein running 120 grams a ton, absolutely littered with visible gold. The selvage, the margins of the vein here, again, another 8 centimeters at 17. So for context, and this is important when I get to the next slide of where we're exploring, we're looking for the proverbial needle in the haystack. We're looking for 1 meter, 2 meter, maybe 3 meters, of double up to triple digit grades. And these style of deposits usually have north and south or whatever orientation along strike from those styles of veins have lower tenor values in the 1, 2, 3 grams or measured in gram meters, thickness times grade, up to sort of 5 or 6 gram meters. So we're using that analogy and concept in a broader exploration space to explore for this style of vein. Just to visualize where it is we're exploring, the Riverina mine is 8 kilometers to the south. This is the first hit mine that I've just taken you through the long section with the infrastructure associated in place. The next slide, which is the larger portion of the exploration program that we're undertaking, is the area to the left here or to the east, as we're looking south of our project area. And this area has seen, prior to our work, virtually no bedrock drill testing over 25 kilometers of strike. To put this into a map picture, the sort of gold colors here outline our tenement package. It's running through the center. The 25 kilometers of strike of the Zuleika shear, which is a prolific structure, as I mentioned, running hundreds of kilometers, runs right through the side of our controlled package. The first hit mine is just to the west of that structure. The Riverina mine sits in here. Now, the coloured dots on here is all the drilling that's been completed prior to our undertaking in the area. And you should note the green drilling is bedrock drill testing RC. The blue dots is shallow auger RAB drilling, which is essentially just looking for an anomaly. Now, you should note that there's a touch of green at the bottom, and then all the way through the rest of this 25 kilometers, there was no bedrock drill testing with RC drilling. There was a few ineffective RAB lines where the cover was good, and that's the type of drilling that doesn't test down into the hard rock. It just tests the weathered rock near surface, and a few lines encroaching through here, which were again ineffective vertical holes. So we've come to effectively, and I call it a greenfield, unexplored block of ground adjacent to a very mature brownfields area with 1.3 million ounces contained within these blue circles. We undertook our first program at the north, at the Bifrost prospect. We drilled some traversers where these pink lines are, noting that the width between these is well in excess of a couple of kilometers. For scale, the Riverina long section, the mine owned by Ora Banda Mining operating down here, that's what that mine looks like when you look at it from side on. That can fit between our drilling. And we had successes with the first results, 27 meters at 0.4, including meter at 3, meter at 1.1, meter at 1.5. Second line, 23 meters at 0.4, including 5 meters at a gram, 3 meters at 1.3. And these are open north and south. So now we're looking at infilling on those, and I'll touch on those in some subsequent slides. We move to the next part of our program. We're testing what we call the central duplex target. Again, we've completed 4 traversers in these salmon pink lines here. And those assays are pending, and we expect to report to market. All these targets have been defined by geochemistry, where we've had soil sampling, as well as the geophysical responses that we've seen. So over the next slides, I'll just look to hone in into the results from that northern drilling at Bifrost. So the northern traverse, where we got some results, so you'll see the drilling here. We effectively have a strategy, because we're looking for these very narrow veins. We need to cover the ground heel to toe, so the drill holes are designed to test the bedrock. The end of the hole starts where the next hole begins, and that means we get full coverage. And this proved very effective. In the central area here was where we got a hole that initially returned 27 meters at 0.4. We turned the rig round while we saw an opportunity and drilled a steeper hole from the existing drill pad in the other direction. We got 17 meters at 1.1 with 2 meters at 3.1 grams. And this is what we can see in this photograph here. We've got this albertized altered zone within a host rock called an ultramafic, and we saw results up to 3 grams. So while still narrow and still a ways to go to define a deposit, the next drill line was 1.1 kilometers north, the next drill line to the south, similar distance or further. So there's a lot of space to be working in. On the back of these results, we went out and undertook an auger soil sampling program to better define the anomaly and place our next drilling. This was successful. It defined the 400 meter long 40 parts per billion gold anomaly, corresponding with where we had the drill results, as well as a broader arsenic anomaly, which again we demonstrated with the Pathfinder. So it proved successful. On the back of this definition of the anomaly, we drilled another these blue triangles here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes, and those results are currently pending, and the samples are in the laboratory. Moving a bit further south, again a couple of kilometers south, the next drill traverse. I haven't got the grades coloured up on this long section, so apologies for that. But we had effectively a zone in here, 23 meters at 0.4 grams, big broad alteration zone. Within there, some stronger responses, 5 meters at 1 gram and 3 meters at 1.5 grams. So again, we took the same strategy. We put an auger program covering the whole area. Again, proved successful. Interestingly, just to the south, we got the stronger anomaly, 0.3 kilometers at 40 ppb and a broad at 0.7 kilometers at 20 ppb. And the strategy behind this is, well, we don't know if the first drill line has been put in the best place. So we want to, when we get a hint of where the structures are, we want to be then following up our drilling north and south or in whatever appropriate direction. Again, we plan to follow up 8 holes, the blue triangles in here. Those have been completed and we're waiting on the results within the next month. We also drilled a couple of holes following up around these results, and again, eagerly awaiting those. So our strategy, as I've explained for you, is initial first pass programs, wide space drill traverses kilometers apart, just to give us an idea of where the variable part of the geology is across this very large area, 25 kilometers of strike, about close to 70-80 square kilometers that we're focusing on. Those heel trove traverses give us the geology. They identify structures that we know now contain gold. Any 1 to 5 gram meter intercepts are of interest follow-up back to that Riverina mine long section. And really within 100 meters north and south of this deposit, you get that tenor of result, 1 to 5 gram meters. First pass drilling was at Bifrost, 7,500 meters with success straight away with the drill bit, followed up with the geochemistry to define the anomaly, and now completed the second round of drilling on those targets. Phase 2 RC drilling, testing another target using the same strategy, and these assays are pending. So we're optimistic that we know we're in a long strike of gold structure that hasn't been previously tested, and we're getting results with our first pass indications. I neglected to mention earlier, we ended the last quarter with 4.7 in the bank, $4.7 million, and we have a substantial amount remaining and to fund another subsequent rounds of drilling, which we'll be undertaking. So to wrap it up as an investment case, the Riverina East Gold Project, gold is very hot, as has been mentioned several times at the moment. A lot of opportunity for new discovery, a very tightly held share structure, which could see a significant re-rate. We're testing high priority regional targets on a long structural corridor. We've got assays pending from the subsequent drill program, which could come soon, and any intercept of note, a couple of meters at double-digit grades, like I've showed this region tends to produce, with rapidly adding ounces, could see a significant re-rate of our share price. Canegrass Battery Minerals Project, I haven't touched on here, but if you have a look at the release of this presentation, there's a number of slides at the back outlining that project. That's of significant value as an asset for the company as well. So any investment gets diversified exposure to a suite of commodities, 100% controlled land packages, all within the WA jurisdiction, exceptional locations to be operating. We've got 20,000 ounces nearly of existing defined resources. We've got an underground assessment underway to see potential value for that. And as I said, the in situ value is excess of $100 million at this stage, with existing infrastructure to get in there. Yeah, and the phase 1 drilling has delivered a gold discovery with assays up to 3.2 grams a ton, where no prior drilling had been completed with for 20 k's to the south and 3 k's to the north on our tenure. So with that, I think I'll wrap that up. Thank you very much for your time. Rachel, thank you very much for hosting this webinar. And any listeners, if they would like further information, please visit our website, check out LinkedIn or Twitter, X as it now is. We have a lot of information shared on there, and sign up to our MailChimp to receive our announcements in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julian. That's a very insightful presentation there. Congratulations on the discovery.
We have kept time there, Rachel. I understand that it's 15 minutes, I think it's the time frame.
Yes, no, that's fine. I think we got a really good overview of Viking there. So thank you so much for that. Now, we have had some questions come through from our audience. Now, we've had Tom asking, what's the latest progress at the First Hit Gold project?
To divide that, I'm not entirely sure which part of the project. So the First Hit Gold project is the name we used to apply to what we now call Riverina East, and that's the First Hit Gold mine is at the core of that. So if I touch on the First Hit Gold mine first, the key thing I discussed it briefly in the slides is that we are looking at potential ways to unlock the value of that 20,000 ounces. It's a small amount of ounces, but in this gold environment, and as per the sort of theme of this this panel and webinar, commodity price swings, the gold price has gone up so much, so rapidly, that 20,000 ounces has a huge inherent value. So there is opportunities to chase that ore body down at depth. So if we get any favourable evaluations from potentially extracting that modest resource that we have there, generating positive cash flow, but importantly getting us to the bottom of the old mine, we have opportunities to chase that ore body at depth. So that's one aspect that the company is looking at. The second part is the broader package, which, as I said, is previously called the First Hit Gold project, but is now named Riverina East, more related to proximity to the Riverina mine rather than just the First Hit Gold mine. That area is working through that. So the first round of drilling we completed was at Bifrost, northern target that covered only a few k's of strike of the broad of 25 kilometers. Good results from that. We've commenced following up on those already. Central target, we've just completed drilling in there, 4,500 meters, waiting for those results. And then we'll be moving further south. So we're systematically working through the 25-kilometer strike of the Zulinka shear that we have under our control, with the objective of finding new ore bodies. We can see the potential in that ground for comfortably finding something in the magnitude of a couple 100,000 ounces, but potentially bigger with the style of ore body that we're looking for. Certainly, if we find that magnitude of ore body, and given the location, 2-hour drive north of Kalkine, only 40 kilometers to the nearest mill, could see a high-value asset being defined very rapidly. And then the board will have the decision on how best to monetize that value for our shareholders, and that could be a range of things, depending on the size of what we find.
Fantastic. And we've had a question here from viewer Michael. How does the drill for equity agreement with Top Drill benefit Viking Mines?
Look, that's, to me, is a great agreement that we've signed into, and Top Drill have been doing this for a number of years, and they were extremely fortunate with De Grey. They did a drill for equity, and then De Grey discovered the Hemi deposit, and the rest is history. How does it benefit Viking Mines? Well, look, as with any explorer that doesn't have a revenue stream, we rely on raising capital in order to fund our activity. We did undertake a raise late last year for $2.5 million or thereabouts into the company. Finished the year with just shy of $5 million. Drilling is an expensive component, and our agreement with Top Drill basically allows for direct drilling cost up to a value of 40% of the invoice to be issued as equity in the company under a, I think it's a 15-day VWAP, sorry, a 20-day VWAP from the date of the invoice. What this means is we can pay part of the bill by issuing more capital, and we don't incur the fees that commonly associate a capital raise through the broking firms, even though there is a slight discount to the share price. Essentially, we don't get the additional 5-6% cost of capital that is added on when you raise through the broking firm. So for our shareholders and for the company, issuing equity to our drillers really allows our capital to go much further and drill more meters. There are escrow provisions, so it's not like the stock's going to immediately hit the market. There's a 6-month escrow, and they like what they see. So it's a vote of confidence. They work extensively in the area and they like what the opportunity is.
Excellent, thank you for that. And we've got a final question for you. Can you share more about the potential of the Canegrass battery minerals project?
Yeah, look, I'm glad I've received that question. Canegrass, we spent a lot of work on over a couple of years. For history, we started a farm-in to acquire this project. It's a mouthful, a vanadiferous titanomagnetite deposit, a VTM deposit. These are iron-rich magnetite bands running sort of north of 30% iron in the ground, but with them comes a lot of vanadium, values up to in excess of 1%. We have a very, very large resource here. We've got 130 million tons of global resource. We undertook some pit optimization studies at the beginning of last year and delivered, late 23, and delivered around 60 or 70 million tons of resource, which was using the current market pricing at the time, which was about $6 a pound from memory, maybe a touch higher. And that's what yielded the pits with conceptually volumes of material that on an annualized rate of 1.5 million tons a year would see in excess of 35 years of operation. So is an inferred resource, does require more work. Unfortunately, the vanadium price has taken a tumble over the last 18 months. It is down at sub $5 a pound, but the outlook looks positive. Vanadium is a commodity that's used primarily in steel. 90% of global production goes into the steel sector, but a growing market is the vanadium redox flow battery, and these are starting to be built globally. They have significant advantages over lithium ion for long duration energy storage. The batteries last 25 years. There's no degradation, so after 25 years, you put the same amount of power in as you could at the start, unlike a lithium battery. No flammability issues. So for the workhorses for storing energy from large renewable energy projects, these are certainly best suited, and that's reflected in some of the very large facilities that are being built in China. There's an 800 megawatt battery, powers in excess of 100,000 homes. So the growth of that sector will see the demand increase. BRICS jurisdictions, China and Russia predominantly, account for 90% of global production. So there really is, and especially in the era of the Trumponomics and everything that's going on in the US, there could be, with what's happening in China, critical minerals brought into the fray, and there's opportunities to diversify supply. So this is an asset that we've got 100%. It's in good condition. Essentially, it's not our priority investment with our capital at the moment, just due to the market sentiment around the commodity, but we're well primed in the future to get additional value from this.
We're all good. I think we've definitely given a very insightful presentation here. So with that, I would like to thank all of you so much for attending today. Thank you so much. On behalf of Kalkine Media, I'd like to extend my gratitude for addressing our audience with your insights and also patiently waiting for your other colleagues to speak. I'd also like to thank our audience for attending the webinar. We hope you found this session informative. If you do want to delve further into equity and market updates, audiences can visit our media site at www.kalkinemedia.com/au. Also, you can visit our equity research website at kalkine.com.au. Stay tuned with Kalkine Media for the upcoming InvestNest webinar series. I hope to see you all again soon, and best of luck with the future. Thank you so much.